And I welcome you back. I'm Rick Sanchez filling in for Paula Zahn. Out in the open now once again, huge controversy that's raging in Virginia. This is over concealed weapons and public records. How would you like it if your name was made public to everybody in your community just because you happen to have a permit to carry a concealed weapon? Well, that's what happened to 135,000 people when the Roanoke Times published a list with all their names on it. Some of them say that revealing their identity has now put their lives in danger. So we sent Kyung La to look into this one for us.
All I was saying was, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. This can't be true.
After years of being careful to make sure she couldn't be found, moving around, carefully guarding her whereabouts wherever she went, Teresa Sayers' personal information, including her home address, was suddenly just one mouse click away.
I was just so shaken when I did so much to try to protect where I was, that it was out there.
Sayers has reason to be afraid. Her ex-husband is serving a 36-year sentence for nearly killing her.
Knocked me to the floor and stabbed me multiple times.
How many times did he stab you?
About 8. If he would get out today, he would find me. He would kill me.
Sayers was one of 135,000 registered concealed carry permit holders in the state of Virginia whose names and home addresses were published on the internet by the Roanoke Times newspaper as part of a series on open government records. The paper never anticipated the fear and the outrage from the gun community that followed.
How many emails would you say you had?
Well, we got about 700 of them.
Philip Van Cleve is a gun rights activist in Virginia. He shoulders complaints, witnesses who help put criminals away, crime victims, and undercover officers, all outed by the Roanoke paper.
We don't want that to happen. We don't want anybody to get killed because of this. And we feel that the Roanoke Times was playing with a very dangerous weapon by displaying that, using the First Amendment to ruin people's lives.
Don't I, under the Virginia state law, have a right to know whether or not you're carrying a weapon?
No.
Why not?
Why should you?
Uh-oh. I woke him up. Have a beautiful day, handsome man.
Hassan Thomas was also on the list. He too has a reason for a permit to carry a concealed weapon. He has it because he's a parole officer. He checks up on violent offenders. And now, since his name and home address were published, those offenders are checking on him too.
The doorbell rang, and it was someone I didn't know.
So it was a parolee?
It was a former parolee. They said they knew him because he used to be their parole officer.
And why'd he come?
Just curious.
How did he get that information? How did he know? I'm thinking, did he follow me home? Did he, find out where I lived at from a friend or something?
The Roanoke Times says the right to know is vitally important. The Times would not speak to CNN on camera, but in an editorial, the paper acknowledged that the right to know must be measured against the potential risk to crime victims and law enforcement. The paper says that it has been bombarded by thousands of fuming emails and calls and many threats of violence. The day after the Roanoke Times published the list, they pulled it down off the internet. But the paper says it still believes that public records should remain public. And they're not alone.
Who is licensed and who is given a privilege in this country by a government body is information that the public should be able to have.
It's one of those classic examples of personal privacy versus the public's right to know.
Now Virginia lawmakers are wrestling with whether this information needs to be locked away or should be made public.
Generally, I feel that governmental records should be open to the public because that's what protects our freedoms.
Teresa Sayers always keeps her handgun within reach on her kitchen counter.
Make you feel better having it in your hands?
It does.
Hassan Thomas says he now leaves the house with a little more caution and a lot more concern. These gun owners say what they lost was a sense of safety. Whether those fears will be realized is now just a waiting game.
Have a blessed day.
Kyung La, CNN, Roanoke, Virginia.
So there's pretty much the information, very clear. So let's do this now. Let's turn it over to the Out in the Open panel that we've put together for you. CNN contributor Roland Martin is joining us. Also Niger Ennis. He's a political consultant and national spokesperson for the Congress of Racial Equality. And once again, Miguel Perez, syndicated columnist and professor in journalism at Lehman College in New York. My thanks to all of you gentlemen for being with us. Roland, we're going to begin with you. They're called concealed weapons, right? That would mean that the people don't want them or anyone else to know that they have them. So why would we want to put this information out there?
Well, first of all, we're assigning the blame to the wrong people. This is a newspaper. They have the right to publish. It's the First Amendment. The people who they should be criticizing are the dumb lawmakers who did not conceal the concealed handgun records. There are a number of states where they hide the information away. They should have known.
So you're saying this shouldn't be a public record to begin with?
Well, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if they want to make this a law, they should have hidden the record. But I certainly believe, though, that we have the right to know in terms of who has concealed handgun weapons. It may be a matter of we don't see it 135,000 people having the handguns. It might be a few people.
But you're wanting to have it both ways. I mean, either you have one or the other. Take a look at this woman's picture once again. Hey, Will, put that picture up once again of her. Thanks. Look at this woman. I mean, this is a woman. You could see the fear in her face. You can understand why a woman like this would probably not want anyone to know where she is.
Yes, and that's why you conceal the records, or you say, what is a rationale for doing so?
So, newspaper man Miguel Perez, what would you do if your publication chose to do something like this?
I would laugh. I would think that it's not necessary. I don't think the newspaper really gains anything from doing this. I don't think they're going to win a Pulitzer for exposing these people. You know, it's ridiculous. I mean, you know, these people have a right to some privacy, and you know, we as the public has the right to know about a sex offender because that's a threat to society. Somebody who has a gun because she has been a victim of violence. The gun to protect herself.
But that's not every person. First of all, let's not assume that 135,000 people in Virginia all have been beaten by their husbands. That's not every single person.
But if it's one too many. And the fact is, what the real agenda is, Miguel, actually, you hit it right on the dot. Because the original writer of the story, compared these law-abiding citizens, some former crime victims, to sex offenders. They said if the government can actually post and actually, you can have an interactive website that can find sexual offenders, then why shouldn't we do the same but with guns? And that's the real agenda are those that want to undermine our Second Amendment constitutional rights to keep and bear arms.
The real problem
here is...
What
about the First Amendment? I mean, before you get to the second, there's a first.
That's true, but the Second Amendment isn't the 33rd. It's the second. And somehow our media pays much more attention to the the almost deity worship of the First Amendment, but we totally have contempt throughout the media of the Second Amendment.
Put your hands up if you think that the newspaper was wrong to do this here, by the way. Yes?
Can I put up two?
You got two? You're not saying they were wrong.
I've run 3 newspapers, okay? So I've made the call in terms of what you decide. Again,
what is to be gained by publishing this story?
Here's what we're doing, though. We are sitting here saying the papers at fault for publishing it. Who were the people who passed the law? Who were the people who could have said the moment they passed it, hey, let's hide this like other states have done. Put the onus on the folks who made the law.
I'll buy that. There are 2 people that are wrong. The newspaper's wrong and the lawmakers. In fact, they're probably going to make that decision because of the stupidity of the Roanoke Times.
And in fact, Rick, the fact of the matter is because the paper actually did it, they could make it private. Because we're in the day of internet focus, folks who know how to use it, they could have pulled the exact same information. And so the paper, in fact, is forcing the state to do what they should have done. So what if someone else had done it? What if a blogger had done it? What if the same parolee had gotten the exact same information and gone to the guy's house?
I suppose that the Roanoke Times is next going to have a list of those who rent adult videos and DVDs, right?
We'll have to leave it there. Maybe that'll be our next segment. Hopefully we won't have to do it. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it, but our producers are saying we're out of time for this one because we've got so much more that we've got to discuss still. In fact, we're about to meet a woman who put her own identity as well as her opinions. You were talking about this just a little while ago, Roland, about the bloggers and the internet. Well, she put it out there in the open, and now she's wishing that she hadn't done that.
I feel horrible. I feel frightened.